Hey everyone, welcome to SchollyLife. We've got Cameron Silverman from Elon University. Was a five-star junior player from New York, now one of the top college players in the country. Cam, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
So Cam, let's talk a little bit about your recruiting process. You were a five-star junior player, not one of the best in the country, but definitely a solid player. What kind of schools recruited you?
Well, I ended in the juniors about 15, I think. That was my ending ranking in tennis recruiting. I was looking at some of the bigger schools like Louisville, and I actually was looking primarily in the Carolinas. That was where I really wanted to go because I have a lot of family in the Carolinas. And so I was looking a little bit at Duke and Wake Forest and Chapel Hill and those schools. And also, my dad was very well in touch with Rex Karma from Louisville. I had some ties to the University of Illinois coach. But a lot of the bigger schools, they thought that I was very small coming out of juniors. When I was senior year, I was like 5'7". So a lot of them wanted me to redshirt my freshman year. And just kind of the way my mentality, I'm very like competitive, and I always want to be playing. And I just couldn't have seen myself really sitting on the bench for a year. So I was definitely looking to play right away. So that eliminated some of the big schools.
You're talking to the other schools that wanted you to redshirt, or maybe you wouldn't play right away. Was scholarship money an issue?
A little bit. A lot of the schools were definitely not offering me as much as I wanted to coming into school. So that definitely was a negative right off the bat. I was obviously there was positives and negatives to both. Also, I was physically I hadn't really lifted much. I hadn't really lifted any weights before school. So I was pretty weak for an incoming freshman. So that was also, that turned some schools off, I guess, I could see. But a lot of the schools thought I was like a talented, and they heard I was a little bit lazy, so they were drawn off to that too. But for me personally, there was some things that I would have really liked about going to a bigger school. But I thought about it like, for me personally, just as a very competitive person, I knew that going to a smaller school, I would have gotten to play a lot of the top guys at bigger schools. Whereas if I'd gone to like maybe a Duke or one of those schools, I could have at least definitely started off probably in the back of the lineup, and then, who knows, you're fighting for a spot in the lineup, and then it's just very hard. I know a few of the guys on the team that are very good, but it's really hard to get ranked if you're like playing 5 or 6 because you're just playing 5 or 6s from other schools. So I was trying to think of my long term.
Okay. And do you think that, for the kids that are junior players now that are 5-star blue chip players, that have the options to play at a school, play 1 or 2, versus going to another school and play 5 or 6. And you talked about how it's really hard to get ranked, hard to get into the big individual tournaments in college if you're not ranked and you're not playing ranked players. How do you kind of assess practicing with the top players versus playing against the top players?
Yeah, that was definitely one thing that definitely entered my mind before when I was choosing schools. Was you go to a big school and you're practicing with extremely good guys. You can get better that way. For me, I think it just depends on really the mentality, how serious you are about tennis. If you're a really good competitor that really believes in yourself and really wants to set high goals for yourself, then I think it's better, in my personal opinion. I don't know. For me, I didn't quite think of this as much at the time, but now looking back on it, I'm extremely happy with the decision I made. For me now, I'm 21 in the country now, and I'm playing the #1 guy at Duke, all these schools. You have a lot of opportunities to play big name guys.
What do you say to the people that say, well, Cam has no one to practice with, he's the best player on his team by far, and yeah, he gets to play against the #1 player, but every day in practice, he's the best player?
For me, that just happens not to be the case at my school. I have, my doubles partner, Stefan Fortman, also, he just got into the rankings also. We're 22 in the country in doubles. We're a very good team. He's a very good player. I have another 5 guys on the team that are, could definitely be ranked, great future players. Jordan Kaufman from my area. We have a new Swedish kid. There's a lot of guys on my team that I can easily practice with. And if you have the right coaching and you have the right mindset, I have a great coach, and I have a good assistant coach that's, they practice individually with me. They work hard with me. For me, I just needed to get, I'm in the weight room all the time. I have people constantly monitoring my nutrition, everything I do. So that helps me a lot.
Is it tough to balance the school and missing class with also trying to have somewhat of a social life?
For me, my toughest semester since I've been at school was my very first semester in freshman year. I hadn't really been used to it. I didn't know what college life was like. But I mean, it's something you get used to. For me, I love having a structured schedule. I feel like if I wasn't on a team and I just had so much free time with myself, I'd pretty much go crazy. And I don't even know, probably be saving all my work to the end of the night because I would know I have so much time to do it. It really, for me, it makes me, it motivates me that I know right when I'm done with practice, I got to eat and I got to get right to my work. It's pretty good. And then on weekends, I mean, I definitely find time for a social life. I don't go overboard, but it's, I'm a social guy. I'm not one of those guys that's, all tennis, tennis, tennis. So I like to mix it up with everything.
You were a top junior. Now you've turned into a top college player. A lot of top junior players do not turn into top college players. What would you say is the difference between juniors and college, and why do you think you've had so much success going from a good junior player to now a great college player?
Well, for me, I think the biggest difference is a lot of people, a lot of juniors, they play so much tennis, especially the top juniors. They play, they don't go to school. They play so much tennis, and I think a lot of them burn out. Personally, I know a lot of people that just when they get to college, they never experienced a social life before when they were in their juniors. So they get to college and they see the social part of it, and they want they want to be social. They want that part of it too. Where for me, I was always known as in the juniors as everybody used to say that they thought I had talent as a tennis player, but I was extremely lazy. So for me, the greatest thing about college is that that's one thing that you can't get away with. For me in juniors, I didn't do that much conditioning. I kind of just relied on hitting tennis balls and that way. And now I'm forced to hit the weight room. I'm forced to do conditioning and stuff, and it's been huge for me because I was pretty much the hole in my game was my fitness.
Well, you've answered a lot of great questions. We really appreciate your time. Wish you the best of luck. We'll be following you this year, next year, and then on to the Pro Tour. And
Thanks a lot, Ross.
good luck.
Appreciate it. Thanks again. Thanks for everything.